Some countries on Earth have some really strange laws. We are about to learn about some of them. Switzerland. In picturesque Switzerland, there are many mysterious rules that characterize the country's culture. One of the most interesting is the nighttime ban on using the toilet in certain regions. Switzerland has a law that prohibits flushing the toilet and taking a shower after 10 p.m. to keep the night quiet. Breaking the law is punishable by a fine of up to 1,000 euros, with the possibility of eviction for repeat offenses. Iran. Is it hard to be a woman in Iran? An Iranian woman cannot divorce her husband on her own. Divorce without cause is exclusively a male privilege. In the absence of a prenuptial agreement and a divorce clause in it, a man can withhold his consent to divorce as long as he wants, and the court will be on his side. Also, children after divorce naturally remain with their father. If a married woman decides to go traveling, she will need a passport, but to get a passport requires the written consent of the husband. So whether a married woman will travel or not depends directly on the husband. China. In China, married couples were allowed to have only one child per family, but in 2016, the Chinese authorities allowed families to have up to 2 children because the population growth over the decades managed to slow down, and after another 5 years, the allowable number of children in the family was increased to 3. That's why the birth rate in the country with the largest population in the world has fallen dramatically and the population is aging rapidly. But despite the cancellation of restrictions on the number of children in a family, most women are willing to have only one child or give up motherhood altogether. North Korea. North Korea is a country where every action of its citizens is carefully monitored. Some laws may seem crazy, but not in North Korea. Citizens of this country cannot cut their hair the way they want because there is a list of allowed hairstyles: 18 female and 10 male. Ordinary citizens do not have access to the internet. Only members of the ruling party can afford the internet, and even they are only allowed to visit 28 websites. Also, only male officials can have a driving license in North Korea. Spain. In all of Spain, it is forbidden to drive a car without a shirt or t-shirt. Despite the fact that on the Spanish beaches you can be topless, a walk around Barcelona in a swimming costume or with a bare torso can cost you 300 euros. Spain is an animal-loving country with laws that protect the least of our brothers, but feeding stray animals is punishable by a fine of 1,000 euros. Singapore. The notorious law, which you have probably heard about, the ban on the import, sale and use of chewing gum in Singapore, is not a myth, but a real law in force for non-compliance, with which you can get a fine of $500. Reading poetry and singing in public places is punished, and that is stricter. For this prank you can get a real term of 3 months in prison. Singapore is a very mysterious country. Here can be fined $500 even for wrong watering of domestic plants. By the way, in Singapore you will have to pay $500 to the person who does not flush water in a public toilet, even after 2,200 hours. USA. If you are going to visit the USA, be careful and study the local laws to avoid trouble. For example, in Alaska you can't take a bath on election day, and in Colorado it's illegal to collect rainwater to water plants. If you want to share your research papers, term papers, essays, or dissertations, be aware that you may be prosecuted for doing so, because this action is a crime. But the authorities of the state of Michigan care about happy marriages, so there is a law there according to which adultery is considered a criminal offense. The penalty for going left is very serious, up to 4 years in prison and up to $5,000 fine. Ireland. Curiously enough, the laws of Ireland prohibit people from getting a salary by having a disgruntled expression on their face. This is strange, because who is even sad when receiving blood-earned money? In the case of a man who did not have internet at home, he can quite officially get a deferment from the army. Australia. It is forbidden to sell and rent a refrigerator on this continent if the volume of any of the compartments is more than 42.5 liters and entails a fine of $750. It is also forbidden by law to make it rain in Australia. If you are not a specially trained person with a permit, then get ready to pay a fine of $1,000 and you may even be imprisoned for 1 year. Western Australia could well be called the second Belarus, where potato farming is very developed. This is where the initiative came from, which has resulted in a rather strange law. Inspection officers can stop and search any vehicle that can theoretically hold more than 50 kilograms of potatoes. If they find more than the cherished bag of root crops, you will be fined up to $2,000, and if you are caught violating the law again, you will have to pay $5,000 at once. Belarusians are shocked. India. License for kite flying in India. In 1934, India passed the Aircraft Act, which equated the kite to an aircraft. To fly it, you must obtain written permission from the authorities. Of course, there are laws in India, but who knows about them? Here are such interesting laws operate in different countries, and this is only a small part. And what do you know?